Would you fight for someone if loving them could destroy their life? What if you'd already destroyed it once, and didn't even remember? My name is Ari, and 3 weeks ago, I drowned in the Indian Ocean. The man who saved me? Someone I was never supposed to see again. Someone they all made sure I forgot. It all started when I packed at 2 a.m. while my husband, soon-to-be ex-husband, slept in the bedroom we hadn't shared in 8 months. I didn't tell anyone I was leaving. Not my mother, who'd call it dramatic. Not Darcy, who'd ask too many questions I didn't have answers to. I just left. I went to the water early. One moment I was floating, weightless. The next, something invisible had me by the ribs and was dragging me sideways, away from shore, away from the reef, into water so deep I couldn't see the bottom. I kicked. Hard. Nothing. My arms felt heavy, useless, like they belonged to someone else. Panic crawled up my throat. I tried to remember what you're supposed to do, swim parallel, don't fight it, but my brain was screaming and my lungs were burning in. I gasped. Swallowed water. Choked. Gasped again. More water. My limbs stopped listening. The sky tilted. Everything blurred at the edges. And I thought, with this strange, distant clarity, this is it. This is how I die. Alone in a country no one knows I'm in because I was too tired to keep pretending. The water closed over my head. Everything went dark. And then, hands. Strong hands, gripping my arms. Pulling me up, breaking the surface. My lungs were on fire. My vision swam. I felt sand, rough, gritty, real, under my back. Someone was pressing on my chest. Hard. Rhythmic. Come on, a voice said. Low. Desperate. Come on, Ari. Breathe. I didn't register that he knew my name. I just registered the pressure. The rhythm. The way his voice cracked on my name like it hurt him to say it. Then someone's lips on mine, a couple of times. And then, I coughed. Water poured out of me, burning my throat. My chest convulsed. I rolled onto my side, heaving, choking, drowning on air and salt and terror. That's it. You're okay. I've got you. His hand was on my back. Steadying me. Warm. I blinked hard, trying to clear my vision. My chest ached. My throat felt like I'd swallowed glass. But I was breathing. I was alive. Then slowly, I turned my head. And froze. The man kneeling beside me had a face I knew. Older now. Sharper. He had a beard, close-cropped and neat. His hair was cut short, faded on the sides. But his eyes. Dark brown. Steady. Looking at me like I was a ghost he'd been trying to forget. Kai? My voice came out broken. Barely there. He went completely still. For a long moment, neither of us moved. And then, slowly, like he was admitting to something he shouldn't, he exhaled. Ari. Not a question. But recognition. Or something that sounded like grief. I tried to sit up. He helped me, one hand bracing my back, and I hated how careful he was being. Like I might break. What are you, how, I couldn't finish because my brain was short-circuiting. Kai. The last time I'd seen him, I was, what, maybe 23? Working security for my husband's company. And then one day he just vanished. Gone. No explanation. What are you doing here? I managed. Kai's jaw tightened. He looked away, scanning the beach like he was checking for witnesses. I work at a clinic nearby, he said quietly. I saw you go under. You're a doctor? He hesitated. I volunteer here. I stared at him. Kai. A doctor. The Kai I remembered never said more than necessary. Watchful. Quiet. The kind of person who made you feel safe just by standing in the same room. But he'd also been kind. I remembered that. Can you stand? He asked. I nodded, even though I wasn't sure. He helped me up. My legs wobbled. For a moment, we just stood there. And I couldn't stop staring at him. Because the last time I'd seen Kai, the last time, I'd felt something. Something I wasn't supposed to feel. Something I'd buried under years of smiling when I didn't mean it and saying I'm fine when I wasn't. And now he was here. And I was drowning all over again. I was remembering those fantasies, those nights of longing. Kai insisted on taking me to the clinic. You need to be monitored, he said, his tone professional like he had not spent half my lifetime by my side already. Secondary drowning is real. Your lungs can fill with fluid hours after. I'm fine, I protested, but he shook his head. You're not. He cut me off, but gently. Please. So I went. The clinic was small. Single story, painted white with blue shutters and a hand-painted sign. Inside, it smelled like antiseptic and something floral I couldn't place. A few exam tables separated by thin curtains. Shelves stocked with bandages and medications. A young woman at the front desk looked up as we entered. Kai. You're early, she stopped, taking in my wet hair, my trembling hands. What happened? Riptide, Kai said. Room 2. She nodded, already moving. Kai led me to a small exam room and helped me seat. He pulled on gloves, snapping them with practiced efficiency, and grabbed a stethoscope. I'm going to listen to your lungs. Tell me if anything hurts. He pressed the cold metal to my back. Deep breath. I inhaled. Out. I exhaled. He moved the stethoscope. Listened. His face was unreadable. He was so close. Close enough that I could see the faint scar above his left eyebrow. The one I'd noticed years ago and never asked about. Close enough that I could smell salt water and that scent I looked for so I could get him one for his birthday. Close enough that if I leaned forward just a little, maybe our lips could. Your lungs sound clear, he said, bringing me out of my thoughts. He pulled off the gloves. Tossed them in the trash. But I want to keep you here for observation. Just to be safe. Kai. I'll get you some water. And dry clothes. He was already moving toward the door. Kai, wait. He stopped. Didn't turn around. His shoulders were tense. His hands, curled into loose fists at his sides. Why didn't you say goodbye? The words came out before I could stop them. There was silence. Silence long enough that I thought he wouldn't answer. And then, quietly, he said, because I had to leave. Why? I asked immediately. He turned. Finally. His expression was guarded. Careful. Like he was holding something fragile and afraid it would shatter if he moved wrong. It's complicated. I'm not going anywhere, I said. You made sure of that. Something flickered across his face, but it was gone in a second. Get some rest, Ari. And he walked out. I sat there on that exam table, wrapped in a scratchy clinic blanket, staring at the door. And I realized. I'd spent 3 years feeling invisible. But when Kai looked at me, even for those few seconds, I felt seen. And I didn't know what scared me more. The fact that I'd almost died. Or the fact that I was contemplating getting injured more just to come here. For hours later, Kai cleared me to leave. He walked me outside, handed me a bottle of water. Take it easy. No swimming. If you feel any tightness, come back immediately. Okay. I twisted the cap off. Took a sip. He stood there, hands in his pockets, looking everywhere but at me. The silence stretched. Finally, I couldn't take it. I left him. Kai's eyes snapped to mine. My husband, I clarified. My voice was steadier than I felt. I left him 3 months ago. That's why I'm here. Something shifted in his expression. Relief. Concern. Something I couldn't name. Are you safe? He asked quietly. The question caught me off guard. Not are you okay? Not what happened? But are you safe? Yeah, I answered. I'm safe. He didn't go overboard. Kai's jaw tightened, then he groaned. Don't lie to me, Ari. I looked at him. Really looked. And I realized he knew. When everyone else thought I was overreacting, he actually knew what I was going through. Do you want to talk about it? He asked. I almost said no. But standing there, in front of Kai, I wanted to. We sat on a low stone wall outside the clinic, under the shade of an acacia tree. I told him everything. About the man I'd married at 25. The one who seemed perfect at first. Charming. Successful. About how slowly, so slowly you don't notice until it's too late. Then he changed. Compliments that turned to corrections. Affection that turned to indifference. The way he started treating me like furniture. Something to arrange. To display. He never hit me, I said. Staring at my hands. He never broke things. He just erased me piece by piece. Until I couldn't remember what I used to sound like when I was happy. Kai didn't interrupt. He just listened. And when I finally ran out of words, he said, I'm glad you took a decision that makes you happy. Simple. Direct. But the way he said it. Like my happiness finally mattered to someone. It made something in my chest crack open. What about you? I asked, turning the focus before I started crying. How did you end up here? Kai exhaled slowly. I went back to school. Finished my medical degree. Started volunteering with relief organizations. I came here 6 months ago. I smiled, that's incredible. He shrugged. It's just work. It's not just work. You're saving lives. He looked at me then. Really looked. You don't have to do something extraordinary to matter, Ari. The way he said my name. Soft. Careful. Like it was something precious he wasn't allowed to keep. I had to look away. Because if I didn't, I'd do something stupid. Like reach for him. Like ask him to tell me why he really left. Like beg him not to disappear again. I didn't leave the island. I told myself it was because I needed to recover. Because I'd already paid for the week. Because I didn't have anywhere else to be. But the truth? I wasn't ready to leave him. Kai and I fell into something I couldn't name. Every day, I'd walk down to the beach. He'd finish his shift and meet me there. We'd walk. Talk. Sometimes we didn't talk at all. He told me about his patients. The little girl with malaria who'd recovered. The fisherman who refused antibiotics because he didn't trust foreign medicine. I told him about the nonprofit I'd been thinking of starting. Resources for women leaving bad situations. I don't know if I'm qualified, I admitted. I barely figured out how to leave on my own. You figured it out, Kai said. That's more than most people do. On the third day, we watched the sunset from the clinic's rooftop. Kai brought fruits like mangoes, papaya, something spiky and sweet I didn't recognize. We sat in old plastic chairs, peeling fruit with our hands, watching the sky turn molten. This is my favorite time of the day, Kai said quietly. Why? Because it's the space in between. It is not day. Not night. Just transition. I looked at him. The golden light caught the angles of his face. Softened the tension he always carried in his shoulders. You're different, I said. Different how? He asked, chuckling. Calmer. Like you're not waiting for something bad to happen, I replied and he smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I'm always waiting for something bad to happen. He admitted. Why? I asked again. He didn't answer. Instead, he turned to me. Why did you recognize me so easily? The question caught me off guard. What do you mean? I almost stammered. When you woke up on the beach. You said my name. Like you'd been thinking about me. My heart stuttered. I swallowed. I remembered you. From before. From when I worked for your family? He asked. And later. When you worked for my ex. I stopped. Why did you leave that job? Kai's expression shuddered. Like a door slamming. It wasn't a good fit. That's not an answer. It's the only one I can give. Immediately, the air between us felt heavy. I wanted to push. To demand. But something in his eyes stopped me. Fear. Not of me. Of what I might uncover if I kept digging. And God help me, I wanted to dig. On the fourth evening, Kai invited me to his place for dinner. It's not much, he warned. But I make a decent fish curry. His house was small. 1 bedroom. Narrow kitchen. Living area with mismatched furniture and medical textbooks stacked everywhere. But it was clean. Lived in. His. There were photos on the walls. Kai with other doctors, all in scrubs, exhausted smiles. Kai in front of a refugee camp, holding a little child's hand. And one that made me stop. A little girl. Maybe 5 or 6. Dark curls. Bright eyes. Yellow dress. Who's this? I asked. Kai glanced over from the kitchen. His whole body went tense. My daughter. The words landed like stones. You have a daughter. Yeah. Where is she? With her grandparents. In Nairobi. Why isn't she here? Kai didn't answer. He turned back to the stove, stirring the curry with more focus than necessary. It's complicated, he said finally. That word again. Complicated. The word he used every time I got too close to whatever he was protecting. We ate in near silence. The curry was good, rich, spicy, warm, but I barely tasted it. All I could think about was that little girl. And the way Kai had looked when I'd asked about her. Like I'd touched a wound that hadn't healed. After dinner, we sat on his small porch. The night was thick. Humid. Crickets chirped in the darkness. Kai handed me a beer. Our fingers brushed. Neither of us pulled away. I'm sorry, I said quietly. For what? For prying. About your daughter. It's none of my. You didn't pry. I'm just. He exhaled. I'm not good at talking about her. Do you miss her? Every day. The pain in his voice was so raw it made my chest ache. Without thinking, I reached over and took his hand. He looked down at our joined hands. Then up at me. And for the first time since I'd woken up on that beach. He didn't pull away. Ari, he said softly. Yeah. You should go. Why? Because if you stay. He didn't finish. He didn't have to. I could see it in his eyes. The want. The fear. The war between what he felt and what he couldn't allow himself to have. I leaned in. Slowly. Giving him time to stop me. He didn't. Our faces were inches apart. I could feel his breath. Warm against my skin. His eyes dropped to my lips. And just as I closed the distance, the door burst open. Daddy! A small whirlwind in a yellow dress came running out. The little girl from the photo. She threw herself at Kai, who caught her instinctively. Zuri, what are you? A woman appeared in the doorway. Mid-30s. Tired eyes. Kind face. I'm so sorry for interrupting, she said. She insisted. She missed you. Kai stood, holding his daughter. I stood too. Frozen. The little girl looked at me with open curiosity. Who's that? Kai's face was unreadable. A friend, he said quietly. A friend. The words felt like a slap. The woman, his woman, probably, gave me an apologetic smile. But I wasn't looking at her. I was looking at Kai. At the way he held his daughter. At the way he wouldn't meet my eyes. And I understood. I'd been about to kiss a man who belonged to someone else. I should go, I said. My voice sounded far away. Not mine. Ari. It's late. I'll see you. I didn't wait for a response. I just walked away. Into the darkness. Alone. Again. The walk back to the guest house felt endless. Empty streets. Distant waves. My footsteps too loud in the quiet. My chest felt tight. Not from the drowning but from something worse. I'd been so stupid. Of course Kai had someone. Of course he had a whole life I knew nothing about. A daughter. A family. And I'd been ready to fulfill my teenage wish of kissing him. Ready to fall into something I had no right to feel. Just like always. Always wanting things that weren't mine to want. When I got back to my room, I sat on the edge of the bed. Stared at my phone. No missed calls. No messages. Not from Kai. Not that I'd expected any. I opened my banking app. Checked the balance. Enough to get by for a few more weeks. Maybe it was time to go home. Wherever home was now. The next morning, I packed. Didn't go to the beach. Didn't stop by the clinic. Just packed my bag, paid the guest house owner, then called a taxi. I was halfway to the door when I heard it. Ari. I froze. Turned. Kai was standing at the entrance, slightly out of breath. "You're leaving?" he asked. "Yeah." Without saying goodbye. I adjusted my bag. I figured we were even. That landed. I saw it in the way his jaw tightened. The way his shoulders dropped. "That's not fair," he said quietly. "Isn't it?" He stepped closer. "Can we talk? Please?" "About what, Kai?" "About how I almost kissed a married man? About how I stopped then shook my head. I can't do this. I'm not married." The words hung in the air. I stared at him. "What?" "I'm not married," he repeated. Slower. "Zuri's mother, she died. 4 years ago." The air left my lungs. "Kai. I should have told you." He ran a hand over his face. "It's not something I talk about." "Why not?" He didn't answer. The taxi pulled up outside. Honked. Kai glanced at it. Then back at me. "Don't go," he said. Not a command. A plea. And God, I wanted to stay. I wanted to drop my bag and ask him to explain everything. But I couldn't. "I have to," I said softly. "Why?" "Because you won't tell me the truth." "And I can't," my voice cracked. "I can't be with someone who keeps me at arm's length and expects me to just accept it. I already did that. For 3 years. I can't do it again." Kai looked like I'd struck him. "Ari. I'm sorry about Zuri's mother. I really am. But that's not what this is about." "Then what is it about?" I met his eyes. "Why did you leave?" "The first time. And the second time." "Why did you disappear from my life, twice, without a word?" Silence. He couldn't answer. Wouldn't answer. And that told me everything. I walked past him. Got into the taxi. And this time, I didn't look back. But 3 days later, sitting in my new empty apartment, unpacking, I found something that changed everything. A journal. My journal. From 10 years ago. And inside, all my secret feelings for our former bodyguard. Kai. But the pain wouldn't let me reread the things I wrote. Instead, I tried to build something that felt like a life. But at night. Every night, I thought about him. About the way he'd looked at me in the ocean. About the little girl with the yellow dress. About the life he had that I'd never be part of. Darcy came over on Thursday. Wine and takeout and that aggressive cheerfulness she always had when she thought I was spiraling. "Okay," she said, setting bags down. "Spill." "What happened?" "Nothing." Liar. So I told her. About Kai. The drowning. The 4 days. The almost kiss. The daughter. When I finished, Darcy said. "So you're in love with him?" "What?" "No. I barely." "Ari. You almost drowned and the thing you're upset about is that he has a kid. That's not. You're in love with him. I stared at my wine. Maybe she was right. Maybe I was. Or maybe I was just in love with the way he made me feel. Seen. Safe. Wanted. It doesn't matter, I said. He's not interested. How do you know? Because he didn't stop me from leaving. Darcy frowned. Did you ask him to? I didn't have an answer. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about what Darcy said. Did you ask him to? No. I hadn't. I just assumed. I got up. Made tea. Started going through boxes I still hadn't unpacked. Old books. Photos. Documents from the divorce. And then. The journal again. Small. Leather. Worn at the corners. I opened it. My handwriting. Young. Looping. Painfully hopeful. June 14th. Kai smiled at me today. Just for a second. But it felt like everything. I flipped forward. June 28th. I know it's stupid. I know he's just doing his job. But when he's around, I feel safe. My heart was pounding. July 10th. I think I'm in love with him. And then. Nothing. The next page was torn out. Ripped clean from the binding. I stared at the jagged edge. What had I written? Why was it missing? My hands were shaking. I grabbed my phone. Called my younger cousin, Maya. She answered on the third ring. Groggy. Ari? It's 1 a.m. Maya. I need you to tell me something. What? Maya asked grogily. That summer we threw the big family party. Do you remember? Silence. The she sighs. Oh God. You're asking about the bodyguard thing. My stomach dropped. What bodyguard thing? Maya sighed again. Ari, you really don't remember? Remember what? I asked. You got drunk, she explained. You got really drunk. First time drinking. The older cousins kept giving you shots. I closed my eyes. What did I do? You kissed one of the security guys. Kai, I think. And then you told him you loved him. In front of everyone. The room tilted. I kissed Kai? Yeah. Your parents went nuclear. Fired him on the spot. Threatened to ruin him if he ever contacted you. Maya answered. Oh God. Why didn't anyone tell me? I almost yelled. They did. Your mom said you embarrassed yourself. You cried for days. But then you just stopped talking about it. I don't remember any of this. I mumbled. You were blackout drunk, Ari. We thought you had alcohol poisoning. I thanked her. Hung up. And sat there in the dark. Staring at the torn page. I'd kissed Kai. Told him I loved him. And my parents destroyed him for it. And I didn't even remember. But if that was true. If my family had fired him for something I did. What else had they done? I spent the next 2 days digging. Called old staff. Tracked down the estate manager. And slowly, the story came together. Kai had been 24 when my parents hired him. Fresh out of training. Quiet. Professional. Worked for us 3 months. Then. The party. The kiss. The firing. My father paid him severance and made him sign an NDA. Standard, apparently. But that wasn't the part that made me sick. It was what came after. A couple years later, my husband's company hired Kai. Executive security. I remembered the day he started. I'd been in the kitchen. He walked in for a briefing. I looked up. And I knew him. I remember you, I'd said, smiling. You used to work for my family. Kai had gone pale. Yes, ma'am. You don't have to call me ma'am. I'm Ari. I know. I thought he was being professional. But now I understood. He'd been terrified. Terrified my family would find out. Terrified I'd remember. Terrified of losing another job. And then 6 months before I left my husband, Kai disappeared. I called the estate manager again. Do you know why Kai left? Silence. Your mother visited that week. She saw him. And she made it clear he wasn't welcome. My hands were shaking. What did she say? I wasn't there. But I heard it was bad. Your husband overheard. And then? Kai quit. Left the country. My mother had done this. Again. She'd seen him and destroyed him. Again. There was even a video. And I'd been completely blind. I spent hours searching. And then I found it. It was posted on a gossip forum years ago. Title: Wealthy Socialite's Bodyguard Exposed. I clicked play. Shaky phone footage. Poor audio. But clear enough. My mother said, "You think I don't see what you're doing? Following my daughter like some." Kai's replied, "I'm doing my job." My mother said again, "Your job is to stay away from her. This time, I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of man you are." The video cut off. The comments were brutal. Creep. Predator. Someone should report him. I felt sick. This had been online for 3 years. And I'd never seen it. But Kai had. He'd lived with this. While I'd been oblivious. I booked a flight. Back to Zanzibar. Because Kai had saved my life. And now it was my turn. The flight felt endless. But when I landed, when I saw him standing by arrivals, hands in his pockets, scanning the crowd, everything else fell away. Our eyes met. He smiled. And I ran. I dropped my bag right there in the middle of the airport. Ran to him. Threw my arms around him. "I know," I whispered into his shoulder. "I know everything." He went still. Completely frozen. "Ari," he called, but I didn't let him finish. The party. The kiss. The firing. My mother. The video. All of it. He pulled back, searching my face. "You shouldn't have." "Don't." I cut him off. "Don't tell me I shouldn't have found out. Don't tell me it's in the past. Because it's not. Not if it's still controlling you." His jaw tightened. "Ari, you don't understand what you're." "Then help me understand." I was adamant. He looked at me for a long moment. And then, finally, he nodded. "Okay." We walked along the shoreline. Away from people. Away from noise. Just us and the sound of waves and the sun sinking into the ocean. For a long time, Kai didn't speak. And I didn't push. I just walked beside him. Waiting. Finally, he stopped. Turned to face the water. "Do you really not remember?" he asked. "The kiss?" He nodded. "No. I was blackout drunk. I didn't even know it happened until last week." He exhaled. Slow. Like he'd been holding that breath for years. "I remember." "Tell me," I said softly. He shook his head. "Ari. Please." He was quiet for so long I thought he wouldn't answer. "And then. You were 20. I was 24. You'd been drinking, too much. Your cousins thought it was funny, kept handing you shots. You could barely stand." I winced. "You came up to me at the end of the night. Stumbling. Laughing. You said," he paused. "You said I had kind eyes." My chest tightened. "And then you kissed me. What did you do?" I pulled back. Gently. Told you that you'd had too much to drink. That you should go to bed. And? His voice cracked. And you said, I think I love you. Oh God. I pressed a hand to my mouth. Your parents saw everything. 10 minutes later, your father pulled me into his office. Fired me. Said if I ever contacted you, he'd make sure I never worked again. That he'd ruin me. I'm so sorry, I apologized. It wasn't your fault, Ari. I shook. Yes, it was. I put you in that position. You were drunk. I was the adult. I was supposed to. He stopped. Shook his head. It doesn't matter now. But it did. I could see it in the way his shoulders hunched. The way he couldn't look at me. He'd carried this for many years. That's not the whole story, I said. Is it? He didn't answer. My mother confronted you again. When you worked for my husband. I saw the video. His head snapped toward me. You saw. I saw everything. What she said. What she accused you of. The comments. I stepped closer. And I saw how people talked about you. What they called you. Kai's expression crumbled. I didn't know you were married to him when I took the job. I swear. I thought enough time had passed. That it would be okay. But then you walked in that first day, and you smiled at me like, he stopped. Like you remembered me. And I couldn't risk it. Couldn't let your family think I was following you. So I stayed away. Kept my distance. What happened? Kai sat down in the sand. I sat beside him. He stared at the horizon. And told me the rest. Your mother showed up. She saw me. Recognized me immediately. Pulled me aside and said, his voice dropped. That I was following you. Trying to seduce you. That if I didn't quit, she'd make sure everyone knew I was a predator. My stomach turned. Your husband overheard. Kai nodded. He didn't fire me. But he started watching. Questioning. Making comments about how dedicated I was. How invested I seemed in the family's safety. He was threatened. I muttered. Kai did not move an inch. He was paranoid. And then he found out about Zuri. My blood ran cold. What did he do? Kai's hands were shaking. He hired someone to follow her. Take photos. Document her routine. And then he sent them to me with a note. He pulled out his phone. Scrolled. Handed it to me. The message was still there. It would be a shame if Child Services received an anonymous tip about an unstable single father. Below it, photos of Zuri. At school. At the park. Laughing with other kids. I felt like I'd been punched. He threatened your daughter? I wanted to scream. Kai's voice was barely above a whisper. I quit the next day. Packed everything. Moved to Nairobi with my sister, the lady you saw with Zuri. And when I got the chance to come here, I took it. Because I thought if I was far enough away, he couldn't touch us. I was crying. Silent tears streaming down my face. I didn't know, I whispered. I swear, I didn't know. I know. He wiped my tears slowly. If I had known. You would have left him sooner, if you knew, Ari. Kai said, looked at me. And you did. You got out. But you didn't. You're still running. I'm not running. I'm protecting my daughter. From what? He can't touch you here. Men like him can't be trusted, Ari. I grabbed his hand. Held it tight. Not anymore. He frowned. What do you mean? I have everything. The video. Screenshots. Testimony. And I'm going to use it. Ari, no, he turned to face me. Yes. I squeezed his hand. You saved my life. Let me try and help you. But there was still something he wasn't telling me. I could see it in his eyes. One more secret. One more wound. There's something else, Kai said quietly. I waited. Zuri's mother. Simone. He started. What about her? I asked. He exhaled. Slow. Painful. She died because of me. My heart stopped. Kai. We were together for 2 years. His voice broke. She was everything. She didn't care about the accusations. The video. The fact that I'd been labeled. She just loved me anyway. I stayed quiet. I was busy working then. And one night, I'd been awake 36 hours. She called. Said she wasn't feeling well. Asked if I could come home. He stopped. Swallowed hard. I told her I couldn't leave. That I'd be home in a few hours. She said it was fine. That she'd be okay. Silence. Heavy. Suffocating. She had an aneurysm. Collapsed in the kitchen. By the time the neighbor found her, it was too late. Oh God. If I'd gone home, if I'd been there. Kai, I called softly. He looked at me. His eyes were red. Wet. It wasn't your fault. I should have been there. He shook his head. You didn't know. You couldn't have known. I should have felt it. I should have. I pulled him into my arms. Held him. Let him break. He sighed into my shoulder. Deep. Wrenching. And I held him the way no one had held me when my marriage fell apart. The way no one had held him when Simone died. I swore I'd never let work come before someone I loved again. That's why I left your husband's job. That's why I've kept everyone away. Because if I let myself care, if I let myself want, someone gets hurt. Kai. Listen to me. I cupped his face. What happened to Simone was a tragedy. A terrible, unfair tragedy. But it wasn't because you did not love her. I wasn't there. No, Kai, I said to him. You were working. Trying to build a life for her. That's not a crime. He looked at me. Really looked. You've been punishing yourself for 10 years, I said. For a kiss you didn't ask for. For a death you couldn't prevent. For loving people who loved you back. Ari. You're allowed to be happy. You're allowed to let someone in. What if I hurt you, Ari? What if you don't? I asked back. He pulled back. Stared at me. And for the first time, I saw hope. I've been in love with you since the day you woke up on that beach, he whispered. Maybe longer. Maybe since you smiled at me 10 years ago. I don't know. But I can't keep pretending I don't feel this. My heart was hammering. Then don't. His hands held my waist firmly, then he kissed me. Soft. Hesitant. Like he was afraid I'd disappear. I kissed him back. Deeper. Pouring everything I couldn't say into it. I see you. I choose you. I'm not going anywhere. When we pulled apart, we were both breathing hard. He rested his forehead against mine. I want you, Ari. You're the one holding back. I give myself to you already, I whispered in his ears, tracing my tongue along his ears, then stood up, slowly walking away. Where are you going? He yelled, jogging after me, but I didn't reply. Instead, I picked up the pace and headed to his place. We didn't even get to his door when he pulled me and pinned me to the nearest wall. I have a better place in mind. He kissed my neck, then scooped me into his arms, taking me to a part of the island I never visited. And under the stars, inches above the water, Kai and I made love just like I fantasized in my journal. The next morning, I was in his bed, happily wrapped in everything that smells of him, eating breakfast he made. He didn't want me to go, scared that something would go wrong, but I had to. Not after everything Maya told me about Darcy. Plus I had to face my ex and my mother. I flew back home, then called Darcy. Coffee tomorrow? She agreed immediately. Oh my God, yes. I've missed you. We met at the cafe near my apartment. Darcy arrived 15 minutes late. Shopping bags from stores she couldn't afford. Sorry. Traffic. She dropped into the chair. So? How are you? You look different. Different how? I asked. Lighter. Did you meet someone again? She replied. I took a sip of coffee. Actually, yeah. His name is Kai. I watched her face. The flicker of recognition. The tension in her jaw. She knew that name. Kai, she repeated. That's nice. And the crazy thing is, I knew him. He used to work for my family. And then for my ex. Darcy's smile faltered. Your ex? Yeah. I leaned forward. Speaking of, when's the last time you talked to him? What? I don't. Darcy. I pulled out my phone. Bank records. Don't lie to me. She stared at the screen. At the payments. The dates. Her face went white. Ari. How long? I asked my question. It's not what you, she started to panic. How long? I asked again. She looked away. 6 months. I felt like I'd been slapped. You've been spying on me for 6 months, Darcy? He was worried. He paid you $10,000, Darcy. I banged my fists on the table. I needed the money, she began defending herself. So you sold me out? I asked, looking at Darcy's eyes filled with tears. You don't understand. I lost my job. My apartment. I was drowning, and he offered. I scoffed. He offered control. And you gave it to him. I didn't tell him anything important, she wanted to lie but I already got the truth. You told him about Kai. She froze. Did you tell him I went to Zanzibar? That I met someone? Silence. Answer me, Darcy. Yes, she answered. I stood up, then picked up my phone. Don't contact me again, Darcy. Ari, please, she begged, but I didn't let her touch me. You chose money over me. Over our friendship. Over my safety. I looked at her. I hope it was worth it. I walked out. And for the first time, I didn't feel guilty about it. Then I went to meet him in his office. His assistant tried to stop me. He's in a meeting. Tell him Ari's here. He'll make time. 5 minutes later, I was shown in. He stood behind his desk. Tall. Polished. Every inch the successful executive. Ari. This is unexpected. Is it? I rolled my eyes. He gestured to a chair. Sit. I'll stand. He studied me. Smiled. That same condescending smile. You look good. Healthy. Cut it. I snapped. His smile faltered. Excuse me? I know about Darcy. I know you paid her. He didn't deny it. Just shrugged. I was concerned. You left without a word. What about Kai? Were you concerned when you threatened his daughter? His expression hardened. I don't know what you're talking about. He lied. Yes, you do. I pulled out my phone. Showed him everything. The video. The employment records. The witness statements. And the private investigator's invoice. Complete with photos of Zuri. His face went pale. Where did you? He asked, confused. He tried to grab my phone but I pulled back. Don't. I warned sternly. Copies are with lawyers. And a journalist who's very interested in powerful men who abuse their positions. He stared at me. Really looked at me for the first time. What do you want? Leave Kai alone. Forever. Or this goes public. Your board. Your investors. Everyone. He was shaking. You're making a mistake, Ari. No, I said. I already made my mistake by marrying you. I walked to the door. Oh. One more thing. What? He asked. If you ever come near me, Kai, or his daughter again, I will destroy you. Not because I'm vindictive, but because I can. And because you deserve it. Then I left. And for the first time in my life, I felt powerful. My family estate looked exactly the same. Sprawling. Immaculate. Cold. I parked in the circular driveway. Walked in like I owned it. My mother was in the sitting room. Tea service. Fresh flowers. Performance. She looked up. Ari. What a surprise. She was beaming. Is it? She gestured to a chair. Sit. I'll have the maids. I'm not here for tea. Her smile tightened. Then why are you here? To tell you I know what you did. I've done many things. Be specific. Kai. Her hand, holding the teacup, trembled. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do, Mother. I pulled out my phone. Showed her the video. This has been online for 3 years. And now everyone's going to know that the elegant Mrs. Chin is actually a bully. My mother went white. You wouldn't dare me. I can send it to your charity board. Your country club. Everyone. Ari, she reached for me but I stepped back. Don't touch me. I'm your mother. A mother protects her child. You did none of those things. I walked to the door. She called after me. If you do this, if you side with him, you'll have nothing. I turned. No, Mother. Kai is not some poor filth like you think, I smiled. Ask your private investigator to do a background check if you think I'm lying. See you never, Mother, I said as I walked out of the house I used to call home. With the next flight I went home. To Kai. The moment I got back, he had a car to pick me, because he had dinner planned. I thought it was a simple dinner, until the lights dimmed and the Kai led me to a private place decorated with petals, and balloons saying would you be my girlfriend? I had 3 options to that question. Yes. Yes. Or all of the above. And I am sure you know what I picked. I saw Kai smile hard as I said yes. He lifted me into the sky, and for the first time in years I felt like a princess. A proper princess. My nonprofit launched in May. Second chances, resources for women rebuilding. Legal aid. Counseling. Housing. Community. The response was overwhelming. Kai continued at the clinic on his island. But now he came home. To me. To Zuri, who warmly opened up to me. My mother tried to contact me twice. I didn't respond. Maybe one day I will. But not yet. My ex stayed quiet. No threats. No investigators. Just silence. Which was what I wanted. One evening, Kai and I sat on the beach at sunset. Just us. Plus the ocean, sky, and quiet. I've been thinking, he said. About? What you said. That I'm allowed to be happy. Yeah. He turned to me. I want to be happy with you. Not just now. But always. He pulled out a small box. Opened it. Simple silver ring. I know it's fast. But I don't want to waste more time. I was crying. Is that a proposal? Is it working? I laughed through tears. Yes, Kai. Yes, it's working, or both. He slipped the ring on. Kissed me. No fear. No guilt. Just love. And a shining jewel sitting pretty on my finger. Later, as the night settled and Kai finally let me rest after. He and the new Rose device took 6 pleasure rides out of me, one question popped into my head. Do you think? I started. Do you think we would have found each other anyway? If all that hadn't happened? He thought about it. The firings. The accusations. The deaths. The lies. About how much suffering it took to get here. I don't know, he said honestly. I nodded, then looked at the ocean. Me neither. We sat in silence. And I realized. Maybe that's the question we're all trying to answer. Do we find the people we're meant to find? Or do we become the people we're meant to be through the ones who break us first? I didn't have the answer. Neither did Kai. Maybe no one does. But as I sat there, watching the waves, holding his hand, I thought, maybe the answer doesn't matter. Maybe what matters is what you do after the breaking. Whether you let it destroy you, or whether you let it teach you how to choose yourself. How to fight. How to love someone not because it's easy, but because it's true. Anyways, this Christmas, Kai and I would visit his family, one of the biggest families in Africa. You must wonder, would they accept me? Subscribe, comment, like and share the video to find out.